Okay, 9.28. Shubha Shubha Phalaerevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanai Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamupaishyasi. Okay, anybody wants to read?
Yes, so I'll read. Translation. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. Purport. One who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called Yukta. The technical term is Yukta Vairagya. This is further explained by Rupa Goswami as follows. अनाशक्तस्य विषयान् यथार्हम् उपयुञ्जत निर्बन्ध कृष्ण संबंधे युक्तं वैराग्यमुच्यते भक्ति Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act and we cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called Yukta Vairagya. Actually situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind and the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization. He becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Therefore, one second. So this, what does this mean? Such activities clear the mirror of the mind. Basically, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. How does renunciation clear the mirror of the mind? And what is this renunciation? Basically, this is saying offering everything, doing everything for Krishna, not for sense gratification, right? So one who does everything for Krishna's sake, do it for me, Krishna is saying. And that is the principle of renunciation. What is the principle of renunciation? That we are doing for Krishna, not for ourselves. Now, by actually situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind. What does this mean? Any idea?
This clears the propensity to act in sense gratification, which is basically the urge, right? So it clears the urges and nothing is left. There is no binding which is there for us to act in certain way, right?
Yeah. So basically what is being said here is that when we start offering everything to Krishna, then slowly and steadily we start realizing that it's actually not for me. Initially, we might not realize this. Initially, we might just do it because somebody is saying, okay, I will do it for Krishna. Okay, I will offer. But gradually, we will come to the consciousness that actually it is not for me. It is for Krishna. So then it clears the mirror of the mind, which is basically saying, Aham Bhogi, Aham, so that I am the enjoyer. That mentality will gradually go because hard-earned money is being, results of which are being offered to Krishna. So this is renunciation, because normally when people are doing everything for themselves, when somebody does it and does the same hard work but offers the result to Krishna, slowly renunciation is there. Slowly his mirror of his mind is also cleared. And then as the actor gradually makes progress, then he becomes completely surrendered. So this is the initial stage. When we are doing things for Krishna, then such a person comes and he becomes completely surrendered to Krishna. Okay. Now I want to continue, Prabhu.
Yes, bro. And the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization. He becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, at the end, he becomes liberated. And this liberation is also specified. By this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahma Jyotir, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It is clearly mentioned here, Mam Upaisyasi. He comes to me, back home, back to Godhead. There are 5 different stages of liberation, and here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back to Godhead and engage directly in the association of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
Anyone who has no interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant, dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as service to the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruitive activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. For ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas, but although a pure devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord may sometimes appear to go against the prescribed Vedic duties, actually it is not so.
So what does that mean? May sometimes appear to go against prescribed Vedic duties. Actually, it is not so. What does that mean?
Like,
Hmm.
like for example, performing Shraddha and some of the ritualistic ceremonies which are done in the dynasty of that um, family as per Brahminical rules, and using that instead of doing that, just engaged in Krishna consciousness and yeah, and then going with the devotional service.
Okay, Anup Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Like he's giving up a lower principle for a higher principle.
Yeah,
like,
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it said, sannyasi should not travel abroad. Like Prabhupada went to make devotees, like
Yeah.
to fulfill the order of Chaitanya.
Okay. Okay, nice. Okay, it is said therefore by Vaishnava authorities that even the most intelligent person cannot understand the plans and activities of a pure devotee. Prabhupada is writing purports, 18th chapter. He's saying, shouldn't a sannyasi should not engage in vivaha karma, vivaha yagna. Sannyasi should not engage in vivaha yagna. But for helping those who are in the lower stage to progress and come to Krishna, sannyasi can engage in that. But all his god brothers were, criticizing him, saying that, why are you engaging in all this vivaha and, getting entangled with others' marriage, this, that, and all that. Papa said, because this is for a higher principle. So nobody can understand plans and activities of a pure devotee. And the exact words are Tara Vakya Kriya Mudra Vijay Vigneha Na Bhujaya Vijay Vineha Vigneha. How does it pronounce in Bengali? Okay, Vigneha Na Bhujaya. A person who is thus always engaged in the service of the Lord is always thinking and planning how to serve the Lord. Who is thus always engaged is to be considered completely liberated at present, and in the future he's going back to Godhead is guaranteed. He's above all materialistic criticism, just as Krishna is above all criticism. Now, he's above all materialistic criticism means basically others should not criticize him. I mean, because he anyway doesn't get affected by any criticism, but others who are generally used to criticizing people should also realize that somebody who is engaged, always thinking and planning how to serve the Lord, he might externally appear like he might be doing something, which might warrant criticism, which might require criticism, but no, he's above all criticism, and just as Krishna is above all criticism. So people who are dedicated like this, we should not engage in any kind of criticism. That's important. Okay, otherwise it might become sadhu ninda, one of the 10 offenses. Okay, any question, anybody? Nine 9.2. समोहं सर्वभूतेषु न मे द्वेषोऽस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम्. Okay, anybody wants to read?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham. Translation: I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Perfect. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists, situated in him.
Okay, so here Prabhupada is making some. So he's saying, so Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son. And so he provides everyone with generous supply of necessities, okay? But for his devotees, he gives special attention. He gives special attention. Who are those devotees? Who are always in Krishna consciousness? Because they're always situated in Krishna. Situated means not physically, like literally, like, Kaya Vacha Manasa, they're situated in Krishna. They're always engaged in Krishna service, thinking about Krishna, serving Krishna. So they are living transcendentalists. Living transcendentalists means that they are actually, they're there and they're doing stuff, right? It's not like after something, some samadhi happens, sometime later something will happen, nothing like that. They are living and they are engaged in serving Krishna. And see, the translation, I just wanted to comment this. Whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend. Krishna is saying that he's a friend. I'm also a friend to him. So these kind of statements should trigger us, saying that, oh wow, I have an opportunity to become friend, Krishna's friend. And Krishna is saying he is also going to become my friend. What a privileged position to be Krishna's friend. So then it should inspire us. Say, okay, then let me do whatever is required to get there. Because Krishna is saying that he is my friend. That this should inspire us. Okay.
The Lord says here distinctly, Maite, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotees are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified and at the same time the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter. And when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond. And so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal
Prabhupada saying here that devotee means pure devotee. So there's no mention of Mishra Bhakta, mixed devotion. Bhagavad Gita, wherever Prabhupada is used, bhakti is pure devotional service. Wherever he uses devotee is pure devotee. So to such pure devotees, Krishna becomes the devotee of his devotees. Yeah.
If a reciprocal relationship is not present, the Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotee. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonalist philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree. and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world, it is part of the spiritual world, where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate.
Okay. So we have discussed this now. Devotional service is not an activity of this material world, though it is being done using senses which are part of this material world, but the activity is not part of the material world. It is part of the spiritual world. Okay. Okay, very important verse. 9.30. Yeah.
Previously, that example Prabhupada is giving regarding in connection with what I couldn't get in last para.
Which one?
The example is
Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, Lord supplies. Yeah. Yeah. So.
But here the explanation is more complete.
No, this is because he's equal to all. So he's like a desire tree. If I want material things, he'll give. If I want spiritual things, he will give. Because Krishna is saying, I'm not partial. But I am like a desire. Krishna is like a desire tree. He can give whatever we want.
Okay. Yeah, explanation is more complete in the sense then he is partial to his devotees.
Yeah. Explanation is more complete, meaning is this whole paragraph explanation that is given about Krishna is now more complete with this.
Okay.
Api chetsu duracharo bhajante mamananya bhak sadhu eva samantapya samyak vyavasito hi saha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in the devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Okay, now this verse has to be read in conjunction with the next verse. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma sasvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanahi name bhakta pranashyati. Because why? Because he quickly becomes righteous. If he quickly doesn't become righteous, then he is not sadhureva hi mantapya. So I'm going back to the previous verse. So if he's engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. And so he will quickly become righteous. That means that this abominable action cannot keep going on and on and on forever. Okay. So if one commits most abominable action, but if he is still engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly if he is properly situated in determination to do devotional service and to become righteous. That means that whatever action he is doing, abominable action, he is feeling repentful about it. He is not liking what he is doing. He knows that it is being by force it is happening, but he wants to reduce it and eventually wants to get rid of it. The word sudurachara used in this verse is very significant. We should understand it properly. When a living entity is conditioned, he has two kinds of activities. One is conditional and the other is constitutional. As for protecting the body or abiding by the rules of the society and state, certainly there are different activities in for the devotees in connection with conditioned life. And such activities are called conditional. Yeah, like, you have to pay tax, this, that, and all that. All is conditional. Besides these, a living entity who is fully conscious of his spiritual nature and is engaged in Krishna consciousness has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in his constitutional position. So this is for a fully conscious person, right? Like Siddha. And their technique called devotional service. They are technically called devotional service. So what is devotional service? Is when we are in full Krishna consciousness, then that is called devotional service, meaning pure devotional service. Now in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and conditional service in relation to the body will appear one another, parallel to one another. So sometimes devotional service, meaning activities of devotional service and conditional service, they are going hand to hand. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. As far as possible, a devotee is very cautious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. Now, wholesome is that his overall condition. Not that this is important in the sense that, like, we should not do anything which will disrupt our Krishna consciousness, right? Now, for example, wholesome condition doesn't mean that I have to maintain my material life also like that. It just means that it is wholesome in the sense that it is giving all the nourishment to that person because he is engaged in bhakti, he is continuing to engage in bhakti. Now, if there is anything which is going to disrupt his engagement in bhakti, then he should avoid. He should be very cautious. He knows that perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. There is anukulyasya sankalpa. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically. Yeah, so like so many examples can be given. One is, say a devotee goes and bribes some politician. It is seen as maybe social. Of course, nowadays nothing is seen as socially abominable. Or sometimes somebody might fall down from their vows. Somebody might have some illicit connections or engage in illicit relations, etc. Anything can happen, right? But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. So even if somebody falls down temporary like that, so we've seen in ISKCON many times, sannyasis have fallen. Now it does not disqualify him. It's just that from an ashrama perspective, he cannot remain a sannyasi, but that doesn't mean he is not a devotee. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down, but he is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, the Lord being situated within his heart purifies him and excuses him. So he will first excuse him, then he'll also purify. Now, when will he purify? He'll purify when the devotee wants to be purified. If he wants to continue in the abominable activity, then he will lose his position. The material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. So the important part here is to not become too bothered about the fall down, but to remain strong in Krishna consciousness. Because if you remain strong in Krishna consciousness, then that Krishna will purify. And that occasional fall down will get rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path. Or as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course. When? As soon as the devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. So, progressing on the path of bhakti will anyway eliminate all such fall downs. But one who occasionally falls down should not be ill-treated or, should not be pulled down from position of sadhu. He is a sadhu, provided he is determined to continue in devotional service and make progress and, become more Krishna conscious than he is currently. Therefore, a person who is situated in Krishna consciousness and is engaged with determination in the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should be considered to be in the transcendental position, even if by chance or accident he is found to have fallen. The word sadhureva, he is saintly, are very emphatic. They are warning to the non-devotees that because of an accidental fall down, a devotee should not be derided. He should still be considered saintly, even if he has accidentally fallen down. And the word mantavyaha is still more emphatic. If one does not follow this rule and derides the devotee for his accidental fall down, then one is disobeying the order of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is very upset. So he's giving very strong words. He has to be considered. You cannot treat him otherwise. Krishna is feeling personal about this devotee. And he's saying, no, you cannot treat him otherwise. You have to treat him saintly. Otherwise, you are disobeying my order. The only qualification of devotee is to be unflinchingly and exclusively engaged in devotional service. So fall downs might be there because it is all our previous conditioning. So something might pop up sometime and we might do something abominable. But an important qualification is that one should be unflinchingly, exclusively engaged in devotional service. Exclusively means no Mishra Bhakti. Basically, that's what it means. Narasimha Purana following statement is given. Bhagavati cha harav ananya cheta brisham malinopi virajate manushya nahi shasha kalusha chabi kadachit timira par bhavat bhavatam upaiti chandraha. The meaning is that even if one fully engaged in devotional service to the Lord is sometimes found engaged in abominable activities, these activities should be considered to be like spots that resemble the mark of a rabbit on the moon. Such spots do not become an impediment to the diffusion of sunlight. Similarly, accidental fall down of a devotee from the path of saintly character does not make him abominable. On the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee is transcendent in transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. This verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of Prakriti, material connections. Devotion service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. As long as one is not strong enough to fight the illusory energy, there may be actual accidental fall downs. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subjected to the fall downs, as previously explained. No one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. It does not improve in his character by devotional. If he does not improve in his character by devotional service, then it is to be considered that he is not a high devotee. Prabhupada is not saying here that he is not a devotee. He is saying he is not a high devotee, but he is a low devotee. But he is a devotee. He is still a devotee. So we'll complete with the next verse also. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. This should not be misunderstood. The 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. The question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? The question may justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord have no good qualifications, as is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, harava bhaktasya guna kuto mahadguna manorathena sato dhavato bahi. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional service is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination in the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself, prayaschitta. But here there is no such condition because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare should be continued without stoppage. This will protect the devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contamination. So, multiple things. One is, even if there is a fall down, the determination to continue strongly in devotional service must be there, and desire must be to improve one's character. And with that, one should engage constantly in pure devotional service. Then naturally all this kachada will get washed out. Prabhupada is also giving a hint. If somebody is troubled by any of this kind of issues, then one should continuously chant without stoppage. Then if our state of mind is like that, then we don't have to do reading, nothing. We have to simply keep chanting all the time. So then he will remain perpetually free from all material contamination. Okay. So, yeah. Any questions? Otherwise, we'll end here.
Yes, so I have a question. So,
Yeah.
in certain places, I think there is also recommendations that a devotee should always try to engage with other devotees who are superior to him in nature, right? And this thing, and there is a clear discrimination where Prabhupada also mentioned that we should engage with only high quality devotees, right? So, in this connection, how do we understand this? That if accidentally we find that someone had fallen, or let's say not intensely doing devotional service, is it fair to keep distance with them, or we should still continue uh, sharing the philosophy or getting more uh, understanding, right? If they are senior in their journey and accidentally they have fallen down.
No, if they've accidentally fallen down, but they're still determinedly continuing in devotional service, then there is no issue. But what Prabhupada also says is that during that time, when that temporary phase, right, when they might not be stable fully, I mean, we might not hear from them or associate with them very closely till they come back to, their, because, whenever such fall down happens, there will be a little disturbance for some time. It's not that we disrespect them, but we might not very closely associate with them during that time. But again, when they're back and they've overcome their weakness, even temporarily, then it's okay. We should associate with them.
Okay, so that is mentioned with regards to the initial position of a devotee where he might be uh, a neophyte. So that it is said in that context, and in this condition, it doesn't hold fruit, right?
In which context? I didn't understand.
So basically, the recommendation to not closely associated with devotees who are little unstable, it is for the neophyte stage, and this does not hold good for accidental fall downs, which might happen for any stage of the devotee, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? Okay. Then we'll disconnect. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samveta gaura bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.